Hey friend, welcome to the Get Rooted in Health podcast. I'm Gabby Flater, a faith-led wife, mom of 3, certified nutrition consultant, personal trainer, and passionate about changing lives. I know how frustrating it can be to navigate the health and wellness world. You want to be motivated to prioritize your well-being and wish you were more educated when it comes to cultivating a healthy home. Maybe you're a mom who's completely burnt out and needs a fresh perspective on life, or you're searching for a place to feel seen, heard, and encouraged in a godly manner. No matter if you're doing the dishes, getting your sweat on, or drinking reheated coffee while watching the kids play, there is always an opportunity for growth. If you are ready to finally take action about these desires and are ready to learn, grow, and transform your mind, then you are in the right place. It's time to establish deeper roots so you can enjoy a more fruitful and fulfilling harvest. Let's dig in. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode on the Get Rooted in Health podcast. I hope this episode finds you well, that you are embracing a new month. We are in March. Can you believe it? I'm all about the new months. So, I don't know. There's just always like this new feeling. Like, I'm kind of over the whole new year. Like, it has to start on the 1st of the new year kind of thing. You can start anytime. Or you can start the 1st of the month. So, just love, the new month. And then you reflect back on the last month. What did I do well? What could I do better? Do better on? What are my goals? What are my focuses? But also March is like a really big month. It's a huge month for many reasons. It holds some good and some hard in there. So we've got baby coming. It's baby month officially, which is wild. And then we've got my birthday at the very end of the month, the big 3-0. It's a big year. And then we have this podcast 1-year anniversary coming up on March 12th, and then passing anniversary of my friend on the 13th. And yeah, it's just all the things. And then it's gardening, indoor planting season, so I need to get my butt in gear for that. And so just trying to embrace it all, and excited for what March is going to bring. I mean, I know what it's going to bring for sure is a new human, which is wild. I'm going to have another human to take care of. It's a crazy responsibility. You're like, I have to keep this thing alive? How have I kept these other 3 living things alive? It's pretty crazy what we accomplish as moms and what we do and how we care for and raise our children. But excited. I'm excited to be on the other side of pregnancy in the postpartum and newborn snuggle phase. So that is to come, and we are going to chat on that today. Actually, I'm just going to kind of go off script and just like share a little bit of my plan in terms of just my birth and what my goals are and what I'm hoping the outcome will be, how I plan to approach it and how I've approached my other births, and just my mindset going into it. And clearly I'm taking a lot of deep breaths. We're at that point. So bear with me as, my oxygen levels are not at their peak. This baby is taking up a lot of things lately. And but really quick, before I jump into that, I want to tell you guys something exciting, as I did finally finish and complete and pass my pre-postnatal fitness specialist course. So I have to maintain a certain number of continuing ed every 2 years for my personal training, and I knew that this was something that I definitely wanted to start getting more knowledge and resources in like that realm in terms of the female population that have had children. And definitely there are more things that I have my eyes set on, but for now this was definitely a doable course, I guess we'll just call it. So I got that done and completed, and I'm just so grateful, and I just love being able to have, I'm always looking to grow and learn and expand my knowledge, and fill my library with resources so that, like, for me personally, but then also so that I can help you, so that I can help others. So super excited to have that under my belt and be able to use that as well to renew my certification. That'll be up in June. So yeah, all really good things. So it is so this episode is going to air in a little bit. I'm recording on March 1st actually here. But I will be 38 weeks tomorrow. So when this episode airs on Monday, I will be 38, just a little over 38 weeks. And yeah, this is baby number 4 for me. So if you're new to the podcast or anything, I have 3 other children ranging from 6, 3, and 21 months as of tomorrow will be my youngest. She will be 21 months old, so she doesn't turn 2 until June. So our kids have gotten progressively closer each year, or each pregnancy. Yeah, and that's a whole nother story in and of itself with how we've managed to just always have surprise babies. So this one happened a little sooner than we planned, but God, he just is going to work in all the details and will give us the grace and the strength to get through these years where it's like, man, the thickness of parenthood and little people, it is not for the faint of heart. It is no joke. But we love, aside from that hard, we love being parents. And I, especially like as you start to watch, like I'm watching my oldest, my 6-year-old, like just his athleticism and like the connections he's making and the emotions that he starts to have and communicate and the skills and the passions that he shows interest in. Of course, they're going to change over time because he's 6. And so one day he might really be into one thing and, the next week another thing. But like, just love watching them grow and learn and have bigger conversations with them. So we always have talked to our kids like with big words. Like we're not here to baby our children. So we have children that will talk with us and we talk with them like they're adults half the time. So it's just neat to see some of that coming to fruition as, my oldest is getting older and I'm like, wow, we did that. We raised this guy, this cool guy. So moms, you're doing great. If you have littles and they're not quite at that, like, older age past 5, just wait and you're going to your heart's just going to like explode out of your body and be like, oh my gosh, look at all they are accomplishing and doing. Like, it's crazy. Like watching him do his homeschooling math and stuff. And then, he's mastered reading. Like I would just say it, he's mastered it. Like, holy smokes, he can do story problems and figure them out. And it's like, I'm blown away. So there's my sappy moment. But coming back to babies and birth, so our children have gotten closer each time. And I'm just a little unpredictable on the hormone cycle thing. So we'll just go with that. And so this baby is due, in quotes, the guest date, we'll say, is March 16th. And we're in that home stretch. I've had early babies and I've had late babies, one late baby. And so this, I'm not really sure where it's going to land. I have this inkling feeling. Is that the right word? Inkling? That she's going to come early. Why? I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just me wanting her to come. But she's definitely she's head down got that confirmed by my midwife, and I feel it. I feel it down there, and I'm just like, you want to come out, don't you? But no, they can choose to stay in there until they're ready. So we shall see. But honestly, like, there's no rhythm or rhyme to any of it. No matter what pregnancy, like, a mom could have her babies all on the due date, and then there could be a mom where they're all over the place. And here I am having one 6 days early, one 3 days early, and one 2 weeks late. 2 weeks late. But that one, we did not do an ultrasound early on. So therefore, I think our guess was just way off. Because again, like I said, my hormone / menstrual cycle stuff is just a whole nother story. So, yeah, I think we were just way off. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what to get here. And I'm not here to be like, okay, there's this pattern, and so this one should probably be, like, it's so different. Where people are like, oh, do you feel different when you had a girl or when you had a boy? And some people say yes, and some people are like, no. And I'm like, all my pregnancies have been the same. I have no complaints. They've been very smooth. I'm very grateful for that, because that's not always the case. Yes, I always carry the initial fears until you get past a certain point, and just some of those things that we carry as moms is we're carrying a human life inside of us, and there's so many things unknown because we can't see. We just can't see, or we can only see so much via ultrasounds or labs or any of that. So. Yeah. So with that, yes, I've had early and I have had late, and all of my children. And this isn't to say there's anything wrong with any women, decide to want to use some form of, not intervention, but like the drugs or whatever you want to call it, the painkillers, the epidural, the Pitocin, any of that kind of stuff. Like, you are free to do what you want because it is there. We have that option. My goal is to share my experiences from my viewpoint, and also inform women so that they can make a better informed choice. Because when we don't know, we are just following the crowd. And here, I mean, I'm sure if you've been listening to these episodes and follow me online and just are picking up what I'm putting down, like, I go against the grain. I tend to go upstream while everyone's going down. Like, if everyone's going one way, why? Is there another way? And that's not the case for everything in life. But I feel that so much has changed and shifted to become more convenient in our world and society for doctors, and just the lifestyle we've created in this world versus like Little House on the Prairie days, like back then. Now, do I wish to be back then? No, not really, because they didn't have access to a lot of great things that we do now for emergency purposes. But I think something got lost. There is something that's missing, and it's created this struggle for so many women, I think, that just don't know some of the beauty that can come out of a natural birth, some of the things that can be avoided if you were to let your body do its thing, if you were to say no to X thing, there's just so many things, and it can be a touchy topic. And again, I'm not here to force things upon you. I am here in this space sharing freely my personal story, viewpoints, my journey, what I have learned. I mean, goodness gracious. My husband and I wonder if the book actually is right here. Oh, it is. Let me grab it. Excuse me. It is the Bradley Method, which is a husband-coached birth. And somehow, so I knew that I really wanted to approach when I was pregnant with my first, like, natural birth. Like, okay, what does that mean? What resources do I need to start adopting that mindset and how to approach it? Because I don't know. And this Bradley method was something that I learned of, and a lady local, she did a course in her home, and she's a doula, and my husband and I, he was not very thrilled in the beginning. We took a 12-week course, and we went through this book, and we watched videos, and we had a little class with a few other couples that were expecting, obviously, and at the end, my husband said that he was very grateful for it, minus a couple classes that maybe he could have done without. And I said, I totally get it. But he was very grateful for it, because then at the end, he was like, don't you dare go and hire a doula and spend the money on that. If you made me go through all of that, you have to give me a chance. And I said, great, let's do it. Like, you and me, we're gonna do this together, and you're going to be my go-to and my support. And he wanted to be there, and there were things that he was standoffish about in the beginning, like, I'm not going to catch the baby, I'm not going to cut the cord, I'm not, all the things. And then, like, in the moment, I remember when the midwife was like, do you want to catch him or do you want to cut the cord? And he was like, yeah, like, and he did it. And so he was there for all 3 of my kids. I've never hired a doula alongside. I mean, I've had some resources just for questions on the side, some good friends. But he has been my go-to, and I have absolutely loved sharing that experience with just him, and being able to, him speak up for me, and him and I be on the same page and talk about our birth plan together. Like, it's super sweet to just prepare for that together. And they even gave at the end of the class, like, this little, like, ringlet of little cue cards, like, this is when transition happens, and this is what phase 1 of labor is. Like, he could, like, it was like little notes to help him through the process and remind him, like, oh yeah, what does this mean? Or, oh yeah, like, I could say this to her, or, this should be the phase that she's in now, or yeah, this is what she needs when she's in transition. So just different things in different terms. He doesn't really refer to that anymore, but because he knows, but basically, a lot of that, and how I work, and how we work well together, and what I need. And it's crazy. It's such a different bond and a different experience to have your partner experience that with you and do it together. I mean, he can only do so much, but that's like the whole other side of it, where it's like they have a whole different perspective. It's crazy. It's wild. What they see, their experience versus my experience. It's like night and day difference. But we took that course just one time. I did a refresher course by myself. It was just like, if you need a refresher from the course, I have a day training. And so I went to one of them when I had my second, or before I had my second, just to remind me of some things. And it was a good way to talk to people and all of that kind of stuff. So by now, I'm just kind of like, I've got some resources. There's things on Instagram that I've watched and saved. There's people I've talked to. I've gone through my own course with, this pre-postnatal fitness stuff, like continuing to surround myself with the things that are going to support the goals that I have. And so I've been able to have the goal and intention of having a natural vaginal birth with my children. All 3 of my children have. And I've actually been able to do it within a hospital setting. And so I think that's one thing that's put a different twist on it, because some people just assume that, oh, she just has a home birth and all of that. Actually, I've birthed at the hospital every time. Learned things along the way, each way of maybe some things that we can still say no to and not get away with, but it's not necessary, and we know how to speak up. And not necessarily need to, they're just following their protocol we don't necessarily have to follow that protocol. This is the least amount of times I've seen a midwife in this pregnancy. Like, I don't go as often as the routine schedule because and she's not concerned either. If there were concerns, absolutely, we would be making different choices. But, it's if there's no concern on my end and none on hers, then I'm just kind of free to come in when I feel that it's necessary or best. And that's just kind of, I've learned to question the system. And so there's nothing wrong with questioning your doctor, your care provider, your OB, your midwife, whatever, questioning the medical system. I mean, if anything, hopefully, within the last few years of all that's been going on, people have learned to question a little bit more and just to dig and do your research. And, why are we doing what we're doing? And what was the reason behind it becoming set up that way, and the way women have been giving labor or giving birth, and what they've been told and feared into, and less empowered. Like, holy smokes, I just feel like there's so much missing. Like, at my appointments, I'm just kind of like, yeah, well, I don't really feel like I was empowered and uplifted to, like, it just is like a check off the list. And it's like, man, I would have and hold so much different conversations if I were like the midwife rather than just like the piddly things. And let's check your blood pressure and your heart rate and how are you feeling, and there 10 kicks in 2 hours or whatever, like baby moving, oh, here's the heart rate, good, okay, we'll see you next time. Okay, did you want this test done? No, that's okay. Did you want the flu shot? Nope, that's okay. So it's just, some of it's just silly to me, and I've learned to just kind of throw it off my shoulder and just be like, that's just what it is. But hey, I am free to say no to anything that I want, and you are. And so that's how I've approached a lot of it. Is I've gained more understanding and awareness, and I've learned the questions to ask, and I've learned to be willing to speak up. And so when there had come times when there were like different tests to be run, and it was like, there's actually no reason that I need to know if my, like, what is it? I don't know. What do they check for, like gonorrhea or something? Or I'm not even sure. This is going to sound embarrassing because I don't even remember. But they like check for things, and you're like, well, there's no possible way that I have that. So no, you're not, like, I'm with one man. I don't need that test done. So research, or you can always say no. Could you explain it to me? Ask them to explain it to you. Do you have a pamphlet on it? Could I have some time to make a decision and get back to you? Like, you can always put things on a little bit more of a hold. You don't have to feel like you've got to answer that question then without being informed, and just assume that it's because it's in your best interest or any of that. Like, some of it really just doesn't. Some of it doesn't apply, and some of it doesn't have to matter. Be important to you, or different vaccinations or labs or tests or whatever. So like when I had my glucose test coming up, they test for the gestational diabetes with every pregnancy around like weeks, 26 or 28. And so with my first, I knew that I didn't want to drink the dyed super crappy drink that they give you. And so I vouched for myself, and I was like, hey, look, I saw online, like, would it be okay if I were to do an equivalent of the amount of sugar that you need me to consume by eating like a banana and drinking some orange juice in a window of time, and then having my labs drawn? And she was like, absolutely, like, we can do that. Just do it at this time. Within 5 minutes, you have to consume X amount of sugar. And then come get your labs drawn an hour later or something. And I was like, great, I can do that. So that was what I did with my first. And then I learned of glucose monitoring, which actually is way more accurate. But I get it. They can't really get every woman in the world to do this because it's not fun. But hey, here, like I said, if everyone's going one way, I'm kind of like, oh, well, what's the other way? Could I do it a different way? How can I be different? How can I be more complicated? Right. And so I would prick my finger. I said, hey, can I just like check my glucose levels for a week? If that, how much do you need? She said a week. And I'm like, okay. So you do it fasting in the morning. So it's basically like I'm a diabetic and I have to prick my finger when I wake up at a fasted state before I eat. And then I check an hour later after each meal. I prick my finger again and I monitor my glucose levels. And if there's anything out of the norm on a consistent basis, then maybe there's something going on. But I have been able to pass that with flying colors each time. And so I did that for the last 3 pregnancies as I pricked my finger for a week. And there were some times where I missed a meal or it was like whatever. But if I was pretty consistent and it just like charted it on an app and I sent them the data or I printed it off and it was like no big deal. So, yeah, so, just all of the approaches of how natural, can I make this experience? And so, my goal is to have the least interventions, the least extra things put in my body. And, there's so much more of that to be talked about. But really my goal with this pregnancy is just to really embrace, the contractions that are going to come. There is going to be pain. There is going to be a lot of deep breathing. There is going to be a lot of uncomfortable moments. But I am reminded of that instant moment of like when it's done. And, right now in this point of some of my, exercise and fitness, like where I'm at sometimes where I'm like, okay, I'm holding a squat or I'm holding a wall sit or I'm really tired and I'm pushing through. Obviously within reason, like I'm not killing myself in workouts, but I'm like, no, these are the moments where mentally, this is what birth is you are physically drained. You are tapped out, but you have to show up. You have to continue to hold that squat. You have to continue to get through that contraction. Like, so I look at some of those more endurance type movements as ways of preparing mentally and semi-physically. I can't obviously mimic exactly birth and contractions and all that, but it's such a great parallel of like when you want to be done but you can't be done because it's not time yet. the grit that you have to get through, but then that instant relief. I mean, it's crazy. It's wild. Same with like when I finished my marathon. It's like, boom, you can stop after you were running for 3.5 hours. You're just done. You can stop. Boom, done. You worked so hard, pushed through the pain, and then it's done. Instant gratification. You can take a break and enjoy your fruits of your labor. So, no pun intended there. That was kind of funny. Fruits of your labor. So yes, so basically each time, so I've had my kids all at the hospital. That's the plan with this one. I had to work through whether or not I was going to do a home birth or not. And it honestly, like, we've lived by the best hospital we ever could have that would support my birth plan. I have a birth plan that me and my husband typed up because that's what our class encouraged us to do. I will make sure that there's no other changes that I really want to make to it, and I will just send that over again for this baby so they have it on file and they can refer to it, all the nurses. And not once was I ever asked for an epidural, any of that. It wasn't really something that they just knew it wasn't on my plan, and I wasn't really in a place of, I think, them feeling like they really, really needed to ask me. And maybe they asked my husband and he said no. I don't know. Sometimes it was some of those things. You need to talk to the husband about it because I'm not interested in talking. And so, yeah, it's a lot of just telling them how you want it to go. And if things need to be readdressed, then of course you can tell them, great, what are our options? Can you give us a minute to talk about it in private? And that's all you got to say. Like, if they're concerned of something, we had that when Juliet was 2 weeks late. We had a lot of things going on, and it was just like a struggle but they were so willing to work with me, and it turned out just fine. Eventually just turned out just fine. And I did not need to have any interventions, but they did put me across the hall from the C-section room, apparently, like where it would be like super quick to get me there if needed, which is kind of, I guess, what they were planning. I don't know. So I plan for what I plan on. And if things got to go a different route, then we will reroute as best as we can with the resources and the knowledge that we have. So with my first two, my water broke at home, and I labored at home for a majority of the labor, and then I birthed at the hospital. After that, we got there within time. My second was born 30 minutes of us getting to the hospital, so that was a little, I mean, honestly, if I could redo any of them, it would be that one. We were cutting it a little close, just, getting there and all that, and getting my midwife there on time. She said she was going like 90 on the freeway when she got there. And this midwife actually retired just before Juliet was born, so I miss her. But we have another one, and she's wonderful. And so, where was it going with that? Okay, so 2 water breaks, and then had the contractions and the baby after that. And then Juliet, I needed my membranes stripped at 42 weeks. That was my first form of intervention, we'll call it, I was willing to do. And that did start to spark some contractions that day. And I ended up just laboring the entire time at the hospital because they were concerned of sending me home, all these things. And I was like, fine, keep me here. Keep me in jail. No, I knew that I stalled out because I wasn't able to be at home in my natural environment. So it just felt long. And I checked myself in all by myself. And then Alex came an hour or 2 later after my, kids were all taken care of, and he got packed up and got to the hospital. But they let me do my thing. They knew. I mean, I was a hot mess. I was crying. I was like, I don't do this. I usually labor at home. And they were probably thinking I was just bonkers. But they're like, lady, you're 42 weeks pregnant. We just want the baby out of you. But it's like, I mean, we had an ultrasound done at 41 weeks. And, I mean, each of my kids is a story. I could do a podcast on each kid. But my third, Juliet, when there was concern, I'm like, we can do a growth ultrasound at 41 weeks. We can check to make sure there's enough fluid, amniotic fluid. We can make sure things are okay. We're willing to do that, even though I don't normally do extra ultrasounds. And everything looked great. Everything looked just fine. And she's like, everything looks fine. And then she says, but we'd really like you to not be pregnant anymore. And we're like, okay, but you just said everything's okay still? Well, then we're going to go home. Like, that's nice. But, just because you want the baby, again, their timetable and what they think. My body just wasn't ready. I went a whole nother week, and it was like, okay, you can strip my membranes and let's see what happens from there. So labored the entire time at the hospital rather than at home with Juliet. So my hope and plan would be to labor at home for a good chunk of the time that's needed, and get to the hospital in time, obviously. And that is typically how it goes. We've got the birth ball. We sometimes, like when my water broke with the boys, I went on a walk afterwards. I think I took a shower. I made sure to eat something. Like I knew it was coming. And then, now I'm like, are the contractions going to come first, or is my water going to break first? Like, I don't know what's going to happen because it's not very common for a woman's water to break before anything really happens. So I'm kind of left here wondering how my body's going to respond to this one. For some reason, I feel like, because my water broke 20 minutes before Juliet was born, my third, and I have a feeling that might be a similar case, sort of, with this one. So, but again, it's all different. So, if only it all came with like a manual, and it was like, this happens first, then this, then this, then this. I mean, it would be very oh my gosh, like what was he thinking when he was like, I'm gonna, women will bear children and they will birth children and it will never have any rhyme or reason. Like, oh my gosh. It's wild. It's wild. I think about that often where I'm like, man, everyone's stories are different, but man, I love me a good birth story. So I am excited to see where this birth goes. So Alex is gonna attend. My husband, he's gonna be there. He's my soul rock, my anchor. We will hang up probably birth affirmations that were made for me. Last baby, a bunch of women like color painted, watercolored. Is that it? Yeah, watercolored a bunch of note cards with different affirmations on them. So we're going to hang those up again. I really, I'm starting to sit on the exercise ball more at night, doing hip rolls and pelvic tilts and rolling out and just getting in more of a relaxed position. Sometimes I have to go in an inverted position because I just have so much pressure down there, and I just need to have a release. I mean, I'm sleeping with my body pillow. Sleep is sometimes just not like my favorite thing. It takes me a while to fall asleep, and then if I wake up to go to the bathroom, then it takes me a while to fall back asleep. But yeah, my plan is for sure just like start to really get my pelvis in a position that allows baby to get in position. So a lot of opening and mobility, and then just focusing on more rest, some relaxation, but still moving my body, getting in some squats and some walking and just, maybe just not lifting as heavy, which is totally fine. I don't need to. And just really just preparing my body for what it's going to go through and my mind. I'm also super excited because I did ask my mom if she would like to attend. Because of like COVID stuff, when I had Juliet, there wasn't really anyone allowed other than like your spouse and maybe one other visitor. And it seemed complicated and just all of the things. And prior to that, it was just me and Alex that were there. So I'm just really excited. My mom was very honored, and I'm excited to give her that opportunity to attend and witness a real birth. So I better put on a good show, right? No. No, I'm really excited. I wouldn't ask her if I didn't feel like I had that relationship, because you got to be in the zone. You got to feel comfortable with who's around, and because you're doing your thing. And it ain't really pretty the whole time. So, yeah. At the hospital, I've asked for the birth ball, the squat bar, a peanut ball. I got in the tub with my first one, but they don't let you in the hospital birth in the tub, which is fine. I don't need that. But it definitely helps me relax through some contractions for a while. And, yeah, it's definitely a big mental and physical moment. And I go in and out of like, I don't think I can do it again. And then I'm like, what are you kidding? You can do it. You totally can. It's not a big deal. It'll be over before you know it. It's a real mind game, guys. But I know that I have Alex who always be like, okay, why don't you try this? Remember this? Because sometimes we get in our head and you need someone there to like push and remind you of your options. So I still got to pack a hospital bag. I've pulled out the cute newborn clothes because that's the fun part. But honestly, I'm just going to throw some nightgowns and nursing bras and yoga pants and whatnot in a bag. Call it good, and throw in my electrolytes. And I don't know, I feel like I'm craving like dried mangoes. So I better go pick myself up a bag of dried mangoes. Because there was a point when I got dehydrated with my third pregnancy, and I needed IV fluids. So they had to hook me up because I wasn't hooked up to anything. Because I told them, like, I'm not taking anything, so I don't want to be hooked up. And just so you have access to me, like, not interested. If I need to be accessed at some point, then we can talk about it. So that was a point where I was definitely not in transition. I was definitely dehydrated. And someone noticed that when heart rates and things were weird with me. I was like, I felt sick. I felt ill. Baby's heart rate was high. They were getting nervous, and so they hooked me up just to some fluids, flushed my body with that. I drank a ton of, I had electrolytes, and then I started eating mangoes or something, and everything leveled off, and I came back to like a normal state. And so, yeah, just packing the snacks and the things that I want, and yeah, so not too many other things. Maybe a couple of things for, oh, that's right, I probably should. Some of the things I'm not super fond of using for like the post baby, like they give you like a spray for down there and like witch hazel pads and all of the things. So I got to look and see what I have, because I got to find those and throw those in my bag. I am reminding myself right now. But yes, the goal is really just to approach this again with the natural mindset, and just the beauty of the hormones and the endorphins that get to be experienced with no interventions and no blocks of any of that because of drugs or whatever, and of course women are free to do what they want, and can still have amazing births. I love that. For me, I've learned so much and know so much that I feel that I want the least amount of things else in my body. I want everything as rich and full of potential as possible when birthing this baby and having the immediate skin to skin contact afterwards. I don't want a baby to have the bath. I don't want you rubbing anything off. I wait till the cord is done being pulsed to cut it. I don't need my baby hooked up to its cord for days. I don't need that. But like, wait till it's done pulsing and then you can cut it. But like skin to skin, all of the things, then the bonding with nursing is so much better. And I'm alert, and I'm not, all the things. Like it feels, it's rich. It's a very rich experience, I think, and rewarding. Either way, it's rewarding. It's intense. It's intense no matter what. And yeah, I have to welcome the contractions. One of the mantras that I really focus on is I relax, I release, I open. And that is something that I'm really excited to just really embrace. I'm nervous to embrace it again as well. But it's a wild experience. If you've never given birth but are going to, you are going to do amazing. But you have to remember to surround yourself with the right tools, resources, people that are going to speak encouragement into you rather than fear. Don't scare yourself. Because, man, they didn't have all these things back then, and kids were birthed. And such rich, healthy children and moms that had good bonds with their children, with nursing that went well, and health and vitality and postpartum recovery, like everything. It wasn't obviously glitz and glamour for all of it. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff that the medical world wasn't prepared for that we are now, which is amazing, and I love that. But I'm giving you a perspective on my end of how to still be able to navigate the medical world while choosing to do it less medically. So yeah, just really, they let me birth, they let me do my thing. I'll let them check heart rates every now and again, but most of the time I'm like, I don't really want to be hooked up to the heart rate monitor. There's really no point. You'll know when I'm, not myself anymore and we're ready to welcome this baby. So I hope, this gave some insight or just some encouragement, and just, I don't know, I know some people just get excited when they've been following somebody, like, oh my gosh, their birth is coming or they're having their baby. I can't wait to hear their story. And so I just wanted to give you an overview of like, where I'm at and how I approach birth, and what I've done in the past and my goals now. So obviously, stay tuned. Pray that, things can go the way they normally have. And, that is our hope and prayer as well. But we're always open-minded, and we're always willing to have a conversation about things that maybe it needs to look different or change. And let's just pray that this baby's not 2 weeks late. I don't think that will be the case. But I'm so excited and nervous to be here, so close to the finish line, because I know just the intenseness to get to that ultimate peace at the end, that reward. It's gonna make me cry. And every mom, your story is beautiful and you're so strong no matter the route and the method that you take. Like having children, bearing them for 9 months, and then bringing them into this world, however it needs to happen, is incredible. And our bodies and our minds and our emotions go through insane things. It's insane. And being in, more of the natural birth mindset and space, just learning so much of how much power that can have and healing, just speaks volumes, because there is a difference and you just have to choose what you want. And I'm not here to tell you it's right or wrong, but I want you to be informed and I want you to do your research and talk to people, rather than just, what you see on TV and what you hear doctors say, and then you're instilled with fear or think that you have to follow a certain, like you have no say. Like that's ultimately it. Like you feel like you have no say and you are bound to the way babies are supposed to be brought into the world via doctors, OBs, like all of this. Like I just picked one online when I first found out I was pregnant with my first. I just was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Sure, this lady looks nice. Watched a little 2-minute clip of her online. Picked her. And after the first meeting with her, I looked at Alex and I was like, no, she's not the one. I will never meet with her again. You are free to interview. You are free to find an OB that you like. You're free to find a midwife. They work in hospital settings for sure. There are birthing centers. You can look at birthing at home. There are so many options these days. So I have that really neat opportunity, just to show people that it can be done in a hospital setting. And again, I had to let go of that like stigma of like, people were like, I'm surprised you're not doing a home birth. Like, I know, me too. Like you and me both. But I had to really lay that down and be like, okay, my husband is a little fearful of the home birth thing, even though he knows like I could do it. I'm a great candidate for it. We're also in the midst of tax season. Anything new on our plate during this time is stressful, like super new. And birthing a baby and a life on the line, that's with doing a home birth for the first time, that I didn't want to put that on him either. Also, we've been able to have a wonderful experience in the hospital every single time. So why not? If it were like fighting every single time with them, okay, maybe we would seriously consider it. But if they've actually been willing to work with our birth plan and be respectful of it, and we can talk with them and they work with us where it's not just us being told what to do and, all of this, and we're able to have, the outcome that we're desiring, then I was like, you know what, we're going to keep it as is. We still live by this amazing hospital that has worked so well with us. I love the nurses there, by the way. The nurses are wonderful. Alex has loved them. They are great. So, no complaints here. Would I love a home birth? Absolutely. Would totally do it. I have so many friends that do. But yeah, that's just not in my wheelhouse right now. So, and also, because we have a son with medical needs, it's an insurance thing too, where it's like, it just makes sense financially with where things line up and deductibles and all of the things. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I get it. Let's just roll with it. And so I think I can provide a really neat perspective and viewpoint of, I'm not being mean or like, I don't know, fighting with the hospital or my midwife or anything. Like I've never had that. It's just, we're more like being vocal. We're being vocal. We're asking the questions. We're asking for alternatives. We're asking, could we have more time to think about it? Like we're just learning to use our voice more. And I think that's just what women need to do. if you feel that that's something you want. And some women just don't care. That's fine, whatever. Like, but when you don't know, you don't know. And so the more and more information that gets out there like this, the more and more people will dig. They will do research. They will find out, oh, that's why that happened. Or, oh, that makes sense because of this. And it's, there's so many domino effects. Once you do one intervention, it leads to the next and then to the next. And, all of the things. And, so I'm just here to share my story. I cannot wait to share, now that I have a podcast platform, like an immediate follow-up to my birth and, what that looks like. So just going to wait to see whether or not the contractions happen on their own or if they're going to come after my water breaks. Hopefully my mom can be here in time to witness it all as well. She's like an hour away, so we're going to have to line that up so she can be there, laboring as much as I can. So I'm breathing through contractions. I'm resting in between them. And when the patterns start to pick up is when we're going to pop into the hospital and be ready. And, different positions is really, the goal is movement. It's not to sit still in bed. It's movement. So I'm moving around, I'm walking, I'm squatting, I'm rocking on the ball, I'm leaning over and I'm swaying my hips side to side. Alex is applying pressure, and then, when the moment comes, your body's just going to be like, I remember telling the nurse last time, I was like, I think she forgot that I didn't have any epidural. Like I felt it all. And she was like, just keep breathing. And I was like, that's all I am doing. I can't stop pushing. You better get somebody in here now. You better get my midwife in here because this baby's coming. She's like, don't, just breathe. Don't push. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like my body is uncontrollably doing this. Not I'm sorry, but like in my head, like you're crazy, lady. My body literally cannot stop what it's doing. So your body it just knows. And so I'm not here to force my body to do anything until there would be a point of emergency and concern. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to have another story and to welcome a new baby into this world and to have that sweet bond and moment with my husband again and working together to have that bond and that moment as we welcome our fourth child into the world. So I really appreciate you listening. If you have questions, just message me, email me. You've got me on Instagram or Facebook. Whatever questions or if you need resources, I'll see what I can come up with. Maybe I'll tap or pop some things down in the show notes here of this husband coach birth, a couple maybe like sites that you can refer to look and research for midwives or where to find a class for this Bradley method that you can take in your area. There's a way that you can like search locally to see if there's a teacher because that might be something that you want to explore, maybe a couple resources that I have clung to. But really just want to empower you. So if you yourself are, expecting or want children, or you have someone close to you that is expecting or even wants children, like it would mean so much if you shared this episode. And again, like there's going to be a follow-up here, within the month or two, whenever I'm ready to share the journey of the birth with you all. I'm excited for that, and you can share that with them, and it would mean so much to me. So thank you for sharing this time. I know we talked for a long time, but thank you so much for sharing this time with me and in this space, and just means so much to have you here. If you haven't had a chance to leave a review or a rating for the show, that is one way that this is going to get into the eyes and ears of more and more people. They'll see it, they'll listen to it, and I want us to make that impact in the world together, and that's only with your help. It's a free way to support the show. So if you just go ahead and scroll down on the Apple iTunes app here on my show, you can hit write a review or leave a rating or whatever. Just pop it in there. Leave your honest rating and review. I appreciate them all. And tag me in your stories if you screenshot this and share it or whatever. Just it goes a long way. So appreciate you guys, and we will chat soon. Bye.